Yep, it says we're live.
There it goes.
What's up, everybody? This is Todd Patrick, Greg Nosar. We are live. We're doing Elite Eight live interviews here. We got J.R. Mockabee out of Texas, Conrad Benetti out of Florida. These two are going head to head this weekend. It is going to be epic. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
What's up, boys?
What's
Hey,
up?
what's up, Greg? Greg, give you the floor here and get some things that you want to say out, and then we'll do this thing.
Well, I just want to welcome you guys. Congratulations on your Elite Eight. Well, I mean, you guys made it to a pretty hard round. I mean, this is the most stacked Elite Eight we've had, and I've been pretty excited about this matchup. I told Todd, I said, I got to get on this one, man, because I love trash talking. I'm all about it. I think trash talking is a most underrated portion in our sport. It should be a part of our sport, and you guys are pretty good at it. And I was like, you know what? I got to be a part of this, man. And it's kind of like raking the coals a little bit. But Jr., you had some pretty awesome trash talk to Iowa guys like the Tommy Thompson and Jordan Westerman and everything else, and had an Iowa battle versus Texas, and you won it. I mean, you can talk the trash, but it's also a thing about backing it up.
He did.
And
Absolutely.
we have the Mean King, and that's Conrad Benetti, lopping off heads, and created a stir back when we first started KBBT. He became a hated villain, and so it's one of these things.
I'm trying to change my life, Greg.
He's trying to change your life. He's been very, very.
Trying to change my life, man.
He's been too kind here lately, and I told him, I said, Conrad, here's the deal. Take off the gloves, take off the governor, take off whatever it is, and let's just go at it, because JR can take it and he can dish it out, man. And but both you guys, it's not about just talking trash. You guys are both heck of a fishermen, and this is going to be an epic matchup. And I can't wait for this battle. And I hope to God that both your phones work this time around, and we get to broadcast you guys Saturday, because I want to see 220s getting slapped in each other's face, and you guys just battle it all day long, man. This is going to be great.
As long as in my 20s, I'd like to see it as well.
Go ahead, Conrad. I didn't hear what you said, man.
I said it as long as in my 220s getting thrown on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all-
We're getting a little static on yours. I'm not sure if your internet's going in and out, but yeah. All right, Todd, take it over, man.
Static there.
Yeah, take it over, buddy.
All right, guys. So let's go over, how, what road you guys have taken so far. I've got this kind of written down, who you guys have gone through. And wait till you guys, everybody out there that's watching this interview, wait till you hear the anglers that these two anglers between themselves have taken out of this event. So what we are down to are the Elite Eight anglers. So JR, Conrad are going home with trophies. They're going home with checks. They're already qualified for the national championship. Now it's nothing about getting a bigger paycheck, a little bit more pride, and a guy like Conrad has a chance, if he wins this week, to, I think, solidify KBBT Angler of the Year, and we'll talk about that here shortly with Conrad. Let's go over the anglers they've taken out. Conrad, first round, Daniel Glenny. Second round, Caleb Helbig. And round 3, the Slayer himself that everybody was picking to be that Cinderella dancing, Matthew Kasprak. The dude's an absolute hammer. If you want to go over, Conrad, your first 3 rounds, go over kind of what, how things transpired for you to get to where you are now.
the first two, the first guy I didn't know too much about. He kind of just showed up. Second guy, second the same thing.
Conrad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Are you on your internet or a cell phone, man? Are you linked up to your internet?
Yeah.
You're just super staticky when you talk.
Yeah.
And you weren't before.
Huh. No, I didn't change anything.
Try just using your cell
Yeah, you
service.
sound like a robot.
Let's see. Now anything different, robot? What do we got?
Yeah, still robotic. Crazy.
On everybody's end.
Yeah. JR, can you hear that as well?
Can't even really make out what you're saying, bud.
Yeah, it's staticky.
Yeah.
Is your kid around to gank those headphones from?
No. It's not. I wasn't staticky before either, huh?
Yeah, it's really weird. Try getting off
Yeah,
and then
you're-
coming back on. Maybe you just have a bad
Yeah,
connection.
you were perfect before we came live. So maybe back all the way out and try to come back in on that link that Greg sent you.
All right.
Yep.
Give me a second.
Meanwhile, we'll go with JR.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then while we're working on getting Conrad set up, hopefully everything will work out here. JR, dude, you've gone through some straight sticks. Jordan Westerman, one of the best guys that we know here at KBBT, out of Iowa. The guy is a hammer. Bradley Kennan, up and coming, doing awesome out of Louisiana there, and Robert Smith, man. So if you want to go through and just tell us, round by round, how you kind of were able to come up through and get to where you are, man, we'd love to hear your story this far.
Yeah, absolutely. So first round, I've been following KBBT for some time now and looking at all the stats. And I knew Jordan a little bit from that. And knew the kind of the history he had and what he was putting up pretty consistently. And it seemed like I think his lowest score that I seen he had was 89 in one of the rounds, and he was busting 90 almost every time. So going into that first one, I knew I had to have a 90-inch bag or greater than. So I kind of swung for the fences and kind of went to a lake that I hadn't been to in a while, but I knew it was consistent through kind of the dock talk and actually going out there a couple times before and seeing it. And I went out there a couple days before that tournament, did some scouting, did some graphing, and did a little bit of fishing. I didn't want to soil it too much, but, got out there, found a really good bite and a really good pattern and where, the majority of the fish were hanging. And then we had that first little cold snap here in Texas that Friday night right before the tournament. So it made things pretty tough that Sunday or Saturday. And, I think I ended up with 88 inches, which I was very grateful to have. I had way higher expectations than that. But, it was fishing tough everywhere, Florida, Texas, all over the Midwest. So it was enough to do that. So I was very grateful for that limit. And then round two, I went back to the same lake. Both of my days have been off on weekends, so I don't really have time to go out during the week and do some scouting elsewhere. So I just kind of stayed there. I've actually fished all 3 rounds out of the lake that I've been fishing. So round two, I knew a little bit about Brad. I obviously know of his father, hammer, stick, putting up big numbers. So I knew again, I had to have another 90-inch plus bag to compete with him. And went out there. The bite was phenomenal. It was turned on all day. I mean, I was throwing back 17 inches like it was nothing, So that was a good problem to have. I think I ended up with 95 inches and I didn't have a 20-inch fish. So that was awesome. And then round 3, I didn't know anything about Robert Smith. I knew he was from Texas. I knew he had, some solid bags. I think he had like 80 inches one weekend, 82 the next. So I knew I just had to go out there, stay on the fish that I was on, and I'd be all right. And I ended up with 91 in round 3. So it's been going pretty well for me. The bite's been pretty consistent. It's gotten me to this far.
Well,
so.
man, that's awesome, and we'll stay with you as we're still working with Conrad Benetti. He'll hopefully be in here soon. You said you've stayed on the same lake. You stayed on the same lake the last couple of weeks, and everything's been pretty hot for you. Seeing what Conrad's been able to throw up, knowing that he can hit that 100 mark. You've not been there yet. Do you feel that if he goes that high, do you think that you can chase him down on the body of water that you're at?
Absolutely. And that day I had 95. Like I said, I didn't have a 20-inch fish, and I missed some big fish early on that morning that I know would have put me close to that 100 mark, if not over. So the body of water that I'll be on definitely has the fish. It has a lot of big fish, and it has a lot of 17 to 19-inch fish. So I'm really confident that I can absolutely compete with a 100-inch bag. I've just got to fish clean, and I've got to put them in the boat.
Nice. So if you want to give us a little background, man, we've not really got to talk to you ever. So, what are you fishing out of, and what's your what baits do you like to use and stuff like that?
I'm fishing out of a 2018 Hobie Pro Angler 14. I've had that boat for a couple of years now, and as far as what type of fisherman, power fisherman for sure. I like frogging, punching, chatterbaiting. Those are definitely my 3 favorite baits. They seem to work a little bit everywhere, especially down here in Texas. You can throw those baits all year round and still get bit. So those are definitely my top 3 right there.
That's awesome, man. And what kind of electronics are you using, if any? I actually interviewed a couple of guys yesterday. They know their body of water, and it's the time of year right now. They don't even feel like they need, electronics. If you are using some, what are you using?
Yeah, I've got a Lowrance 9 Ti. It's been a great unit. I've had Humminbird, switched over to Lowrance. It seems a little more user friendly, and it's a great unit. I love that unit. I take it out every time. And I haven't really been using it a whole lot for graphing purposes the last couple of weekends, but mainly, water temp, depth, that kind of stuff. Staying in that sweet spot.
Right. Another thing here, I think we're getting Conrad in. He looks like he might be a little frozen. Conrad, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Man, it's still jumped
audio,
up.
man, I don't know. It's weird.
It's
Maybe try to turn your volume down a little bit. I don't know if maybe you're getting some feedback off your own microphone or something, possibly. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe if you can go steal one of your kids' cell phones, or or whatever. But your picture's good, man.
Yeah.
You're good right now. You just,
iPad,
your audio's
computer.
It just sounds so off.
Yeah, it's yeah. You have to. It was weird because it was working before.
Yeah, before we go live, your audio is fine. We go and we're live, and now it's jacked up.
I don't know.
So you can talk all the smack you wrote right now, and nobody'd even know what you said.
All right, let me see what I can do. I'll leave you with Mark up here for a little bit. All right.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Yep,
All right.
see what we can come up with. JR, let me ask you a question, man.
You got anything for
yes, so I want to ask JR. So I mean, you're geographically kind of the same level as where Conrad's fishing. So your environment's obviously Texas a little bit different, but he's obviously Conrad's a little bit more tropical. But I mean, it seems like to me this is a perfect matchup. It's Texas versus Florida. There's always this competition. If you ever followed KBBT, there's always been this Texas versus this Florida mentality. You're going against probably KBBT's best. Conrad Benetti he's a champion. Every time he competes in KBBT, he's always the head guy to go after, man. So you get him in the Elite 8. And, to be the best, you have to beat the best. Look, man, now's your time. Are you going to stay humble, or are you pretty confident that you have what it takes to beat literally the best right now with KBBT? He's going, now listen, let me say this. Conrad has a huge incentive to beat you. His incentive is to become Angler of the Year for KBBT. And if you see these trophies, dude, they're sick. So he is absolutely gunning after it. He loves the hardware, but he's got to go through you to get it. How confident are you that you have what it takes to beat Conrad Benetti?
Very confident, man. My confidence is through the roof right now, and I know my abilities, and I know my body of water, and I know the fish that are there. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough going up against him. I know his reputation, that most people do, and he throws up big bags. But, it's fishing. Nothing's guaranteed. And, my body of water has been very consistent, even on the tough days. On that cold front day, I put up 88 inches. If he has another one of these days, he's going to be in trouble. If he throws up 82 again, he's in trouble.
I'll have to say this, man. I was there. It's the Greg Nozar curse. It's one of the lowest days he's ever had. And it was actually 82. It was 82 inches at Canyonsville. It was. In fact, I beat Conrad Benetti on that water. And I still lost. It was brutal.
82,
it was brutal that day. There's no doubt about it, man. There's no doubt about it. I have to tell you, man. I have to say this. I'm a fan of yours. Like watching what you've been doing here in the last couple of months. I'm a fan. I think you're a heck of a fisherman. I think
Yep.
seeing what you've done in the Texas bracket, and then actually following that up shortly thereafter at the Texas Throwdown. I think you had a top 5 finish, right? You finished fourth or something like that in Texas Throwdown.
Yeah, I got fifth out of 170.
I mean, that's solid, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a heck of a show. Obviously, the Texas Throwdown is a big deal in Texas, and to have a top 5 finish is ridiculous. And then following that up, you're in the Elite 8 here. I do have a question though. What are your thoughts? There's always this battle and mindset about online events versus something that's more that's a live event. What are your thoughts about this format? What are your thoughts about quote unquote this online event? Or I mean, obviously we'll always play second fiddle to a live event. A live event's the ultimate. But how do you compare the two? And what do you think about the format? And how do you like or how do you like or dislike this bracket format?
Well, I mean, there's a reason why I'm doing it, man. I like this format. It's different. It's not like anything that's out there right now. And I do live events, I do online events. So this is new, but it's not, as far as online events. So, and I think of it both ways. If you've got a live event, you go out there and you beat all these anglers on that day on that body of water with those conditions. I mean, that's pretty impressive, and that's saying something, but it's also impressive. And there's the other side of the argument where, it is an online event, but if I go out there and I beat a guy on his honey hole that he goes out to, several times a month and throws up big bags, that's just as impressive in my opinion, because he's fishing his honey hole. So
right,
it can go both ways, and I like both formats, and I really enjoyed this bracket one-on-one, beating your opponent on their honey hole body of water. I think it's a really cool format. I enjoy it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about going, like you said, one-on-one, man versus man, regardless, and like you said, and taking their top spots versus your top spots, and you got to fight different conditions, but at the same time, man, you're not only just you're facing one-on-one for that week, and then you have to go to the next round. You have different conditions, and then you have to really, put your angling skills to the test. And I'll tell you this, man, we've been doing this now almost a year. It's been an incredible year, and I can honestly say, we really had no idea what we were doing in the very get-go. We were just kind of putting this thing together and just seeing where it happened, where it was going to land. But the guys who really have fished this consistently, if you ask them about their year, it's probably been their better year that they've ever had fishing. And a lot of them do attribute to the fact that they have been competitive ready since day one. Since they've competed in the brackets early in the year, even though all these live events have shut down, their competitive mindset has stayed consistent throughout the bracket, because honestly, a lot of KBBT guys. I mean, good night. I mean, I'm not saying this is just because, but Matthew Conant won the freaking Triple Crown. Okay, I mean,
right.
I mean, no one knew who Matthew Conant was. I mean, Derek Brundle's been talking about Matt Conant for years, but Matt Conant, has been fishing around, but man, he's been fishing KBBT since day one, and to see that guy do what he did. Man, I'm super proud of it, and I mean, he has been competitive throughout, man. But I'm not saying KBBT had anything to do with it, but I'm sure he sharpened his skills by being competitive and competing all through the year.
Absolutely, and that goes to say, like, and if you keep making it, round after round, if you're fishing the same body of water, you might have to tweak things and adjust things, because you're, sometimes you're fishing for the same fish, sometimes you're not. But it goes to show that you have to be consistent, and that transforms over to the live events, where he could have definitely used something that he learned or gained from this KBBT. And I mean, you've got a lot of a lot of good anglers and sticks and hammers and under the KBBT. I mean, there's a lot of good competitors out there that have fished this bracket, that can compete nationwide. And I mean, obviously you've seen Conant do what he did, and Derek. So
no doubt. So last week, Conrad had a challenge from Matt Kasparak, and it was a one bait, one rod challenge, right?
Right.
I'm sure he doesn't want to do this ever again. He won fair and square last week. But if you were to choose just one bait, and you had to go against Conrad, what would that one bait be?
A frog.
You think the frog can hold up all day long?
All day long. I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks.
That's amazing. Well,
There's a certain cadence, and you've got to pick up on it. There's little nuances to it, but yeah, absolutely, it can get bites all day long, rain, shine, sunny. It doesn't matter.
gotcha. All right, let's talk about frog fishing. That's my thing. Okay, I mean, I'm from Potomac River. I'm a frog fisherman,
Give Rick
man.
a lesson.
I love it. No, I love it, man. And you know, I'm a frog. In fact, I taught Marcus Coates how to frog fish, for God's sake. And look at him now. You know, but no, I mean, frog fishing's my thing. You know, because we have snakeheads here. I mean, it's just, you know, we have lily pads. It's just the grass and everything. Potomac River's amazing. So, without getting into your secrets or whatever like that, but one thing I love about frog fishing is the uncertainty of it, right? What is your secret sauce to say about hookup ratios, man? Because I mean, as you know, frog fishing can be very frustrating at times. It's like one day you're hooking 100%, you know, boom, 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 and then the next day you're missing them, you're yanking them out of the mouth, whatever. Can you go over your tackle, your rod setup, your line, and what you do to increase that that frog hookup ratio?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the setup. I used a 7-foot Kistler Magnesium 2 Heavy. It's got a moderate tip, and the reason why I use a moderate tip is just the walking ability. You know, it's got a softer tip. It allows that fish to get that frog a lot better. You know, now I think that's a big part of, you know, a lot of guys use broomsticks, you know, and it has its place. You know, if you're fishing thick mats and grass where you got to use it, you got to use it. But for sparse stuff, sparse cover, you know, sparse grass, that kind of stuff, I mean, I use that 7-foot heavy moderate, and it works the frog well. It allows that fish to eat it a little bit, you know, sooner, so I can get that hook set and not rip it out of its mouth. And there's a couple little things that you can do too that I've learned is, you know, trimming the legs. You know, if they're short striking it, if they're not getting it fully, you know, trim those legs a little bit, make the profile smaller. There's also tricks with, you know, pointing the hooks out. The actual frog that I use, you don't actually have to do that. It comes out of the package with them at a certain degree, and it's still weedless, so it kind of follows the body, but those hooks are already kind of pointed up, so they're ready for when you set the hook. It penetrates right through the mouth.
See, Marcus, everything he said is exactly what I told you to do, bro.
Yeah, there's little things like that definitely help, and sometimes you've got to pick up on those on tournament day, and there's little things that you can change that'll be the difference between, you know, hooking up, you know, say 8 or 9 times out of 10, or, you know, 4 or 5 times out of 10. So yeah, the setup's the big one. The rod, I think, is a really big part of that.
I 100% agree with you. I actually had Exotic build me a rod. It was a 7-foot 1 medium heavy rod. Like you're talking about, I think the guys who frog fish use broomsticks, and I think it has too much torque, and you can rip really that frog out of its mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Right.
there's no bend, there's no give, you know, and you gotta let that you have a little bit of bend, so to speak. So like you're talking about, let that hook set and everything else, and then, you know, you can horse it out, and it has the same strength and power to get horse that that bass out of the lily pads or whatever you're fishing, you know, grass mats and everything else. But I agree with you wholeheartly, man. About
Absolutely. I mean, if you're using a broomstick, and then most guys are using, you know, 50, 65, even more, you know, pound braid, I mean, there's no giving that setup. So you're exactly right. You're ripping it literally the frog right out of its mouth.
Yeah. So are you a soft belly pad crasher guy, or are you more of a poppin' frog guy?
Strictly popping. I don't use any other kind of frog. I use popping frog, whether it's calm, windy, you know. And like I said, there's certain cadences and little things you can do to the frog, you know, even on those calm, slick glass days, and they'll still bite it, you know. But yeah, strictly use popping frogs. I don't think I own a walking frog.
So
what brand of frog do you throw, if you don't mind?
It's the secret of the pros.
I use Pro and Terminator.
That's exactly what I use. Exactly. 100%, man. Right. I always have a black with a little red, you know what I mean? And, I mean, various colors, depending on where I'm at. But, no, I mean, it's a killer. So let me ask you this. One of those frustrating things I see, especially when you get people out there fishing, and you know, they're newer to frog fishing, but they're so quick to pop, and then reel, and then pop, and reel, and, you know, they have their little cadence and everything else, but they don't let that frog freaking sit and soak a little bit, you know what I mean? And give it that give it that chance, man. Are you more of a, just basically, keeping that frog moving? Because I talk to a lot of frog fishermen, and their key is just let that frog keep moving, man. They want that bass to really chase that bait. Or are you find most of your bites really just come on the sit and just let that thing soak a little bit?
It definitely depends on the day. I let the bait fish tell me that. If there's a lot of activity, surface activity with bait fish popping and fish blowing up, I'll definitely work that frog more erratic and move it constantly. And there's days where I'll let it soak for 10 to 20 seconds, and you don't move it at all. And I found actually the very first day, like I said, where we had that cold front and the bite was real finicky. There's holes in the grass, and I'd throw it over the holes and I'd let it sit, and I'd count to 10 to 15 seconds. And right when I go to move that frog, they just blow up on it. Whereas, and it took me a couple hours to figure that out. I was working it like I normally would, just kind of slow and steady, not getting any bites. And I thought, well, cold front, they're kind of finicky anyway. Let me just let this sit. And after I figured that out, man, that bite started picking up, and I caught probably 20 to 30 fish that day doing that. So it was a big difference.
So let me ask you this. A lot of us guys are getting ready to go to Chickamauga, okay, for Tennessee. I don't know if you're going to be there or not, but Chickamauga is a big event for the Bass Series. And contrary to it may sound, we're getting ready to go into almost Thanksgiving, for goodness sakes. And, the water temperatures are getting into the low 60s. And, the current is going to be there somewhat. But do you think that, if you have a frog bite, can you get a really strong frog bite when the water temperatures are in the 50s and in the 60s? Or is it mostly higher 60s and up bite for you? Or are you frog fishing year round?
100% frog fishing year round, and I would do that when I lived in the Midwest. Even when the water temps would get in the low 50s, it just depends on the location, and where I was from back home, a lot of lakes didn't get no deeper than 5 foot, so in a lot of areas, even though it was winter time and the water was super cold, and that's, it goes against everything in the textbook that, if you just let it sit and let it soak and you throw it in the right locations, that those fish will still come up, and it's an easy meal for them, it's just sitting there. So I think, it's not so much about whether they'll hit it or not, or where you're throwing it, but it has a lot to do with the location. If you've got the right depth and, you've got, say, less than 5 or 6 foot of water, and I don't know what it is, it changes day by day, but say it's a good number to set, you can catch them all year round on a frog, or a buzzbait, in my opinion, and that's what I've found with my experience. Even if it's low 50s.
So even in those colder temperatures, I mean, do you think that there needs to be prerequisites of at least grass or a log or something like that you're throwing in, or you're throwing against rock walls, you're throwing against mud banks, you're throwing against everything else that's out there? I mean, you're going to throw that frog no matter what, or you have to look for grass or some kind of cover?
Definitely some type of cover, yeah. I mean, I'm not just going to throw that in open water. I've got to have some type of cover, whether that's grass, laydowns, logs, bushes. Bushes are a big one. But yeah, I mean, definitely some type of cover. If there's cover and there's the right depth, absolutely, I'll throw that, a lot. Yeah. Even in the winter.
So I mean, look, you're going after big fish, man. You sound like you're a power fisherman. You're a big fisherman. You rather have 5 big bites than 40 small bites any day, right? That's your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
It's solid, man. I mean, and it shows you in your numbers, man. I mean, one of the things I have had to learn as a tournament fisherman, and something I was completely failed at, is I'm always out there to get the limit first. And more I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing these more successful tournament fishing. They know that they're going to get their limit, and they're not chasing the limit early, right? They know that they just want 5 big bass, and they know they have the confidence in their skills to get that 5 big bass bite, even if it takes them all day, right? Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of tournament fishermen, they just want to get that numbers up, and throw 5 fish on the board early, and then sometimes what they're doing is they're chasing those smaller fish all the way, and next thing you know, it's 11, 12 o'clock. Maybe they've got 5 fish, but it's 68 inches or 70 inches, and they wasted all that time chasing dinks, where they didn't stick with their strategy, the big fish strategy, and looking for opportune structure or grass or something like that, and then like you start talking about using that one or two baits to get those bigger bites. Do you agree with that?
Mhm.
Do you think that's why most tournament anglers fail?
I think so. Yeah, and going to live events, you'll hear guys always talking about, I'm going for 5, I'm going for a limit early, and I think that has its time and place. If you're fishing a live event, going for that limit early is all right, but in the events that we're doing, no, I mean, you got to swing for the fence, and you've got to get on those big fish early, because there's a certain window when they feed, they don't just feed all day long in most cases. So you've got to target those fish in those feeding times. It's not about, in my opinion, going for a limit. That's just not going to cut it, especially these events. But on live events, I think going for a limit, that's all right in some instances, especially when the water temps start getting cooler and the lakes start getting a little bit tougher.
Mm-hmm.
A limit goes a long way. But yeah, in these events, no, I think you need to swing for the fence, get on those big fish early, and then just cull up throughout the day when you can.
So JR, coming out of that question, leading into something else. Let's say that Saturday you go out and your big bite's not there. It's not heavy in the morning. Maybe you got a 15.5 inch, a 17.25, and maybe one good kicker fish. What are you doing the rest of the day to go out there and find those bigger fish? Maybe seeing that maybe you just didn't hit that feeding pattern at the right time. What are you doing?
Well, it's all about adjusting, and every day's, different. So, if that's the case, Saturday, say I've got 2 or 3 fish, maybe one good one, instead of doing what I've been doing, I might slow it down. I might fish a little deeper, just kind of let the fish and the bait fish tell me what's kind of going on. And if I see bait fish, and I mean, that's a big indicator, especially this time of year in the fall. I mean, they're so keyed in on, shad and bait fish right now. If you've got that in the area and you've got cover, that's all the ingredients for, fish. So, if I've got to slow down and drag a big jig or a big worm out deep, I'll definitely do that. So it kind of depends. I'm not going to get all stressed out and worried because I know what this lake has, and it just takes a couple bites to be right back in it. So my mind will be there,
Yeah, no, you've done well. I mean, would your body of water ever get to an opportunity or get to a point to where if you don't have any fish or if you don't have a bite by a certain amount of time, you've got somewhere else you can run, or you're all in on your zone and it's that or nothing?
Yeah, I mean, where I'm at, yeah, I'm all in. I'm not going anywhere else. But, where I'm going, the lake, with these a little bit cooler temps, it should only get better. They haven't really fully started that fall feed, so it should only get better from here on out. So, hopefully I make it into the next round next weekend, and then it should only get better. But yeah, if the bite's not on there, I'm just going to figure them out there. I'm not moving lakes.
All right. Zach Mockabee says JR has this round in the bag.
That's my little brother. He's right.
Is that your brother?
I got this.
Yeah, it looks like you got some people pulling for you in the comments and things like that.
Oh, they're into it, man. I love it. I get a lot of support.
It's gonna be a treat.
They'll be watching Saturday, and I'll have signal Saturday, so I should be able to go live all day.
Beautiful.
Nice. Do you have like a little auxiliary battery pack or one of those 28,000 amp hours that you can put your phone into?
Yeah, I've got a battery pack. It should last all day.
Sweet. Greg, we got any update on Conrad?
Yeah, he said. Yeah, I just talked to him. He said he's still let the interview be. Hopefully, we'll try again tomorrow and just try to do a separate interview. He apologizes for whatever's going on. He can't figure out what's going on. So we'll
Poor guy got scared.
Yeah, exactly. He got scared. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, expect. Yeah. Now you look. Any meme wars that start. I mean, you came, man. You came prepared. So, but I mean, it is what it is. We'll try to get him on tomorrow separately and see what happens. But it stinks. So, we can't get him on. But
yeah. So JR obviously sticking with you here because this is going to turn into your show. What is your fishing background? Is it starting off in a boat? Is it bank fishing? Is it strictly kayak fishing only? Where you come from as far as an angler? How long have you been fishing to get to where you are now?
Well, I've been fishing my whole life. My dad's a big bass fisherman. He owns a bass boat, and that's where I started. I probably started fishing when I was 5 years old. I'm 26 now. So I've had a lot of years of fishing experience and growing up through the years and kind of seeing him and what he does and learning from him. But yeah, I grew up fishing the bass boat, doing a lot of tournaments with him. And then I think I probably started kayak fishing in 2015, somewhere around there, 2014,
Okay.
2015. So 5 or 6 years I've been in the kayak game, and that's, moving away from him and down here in Texas, I can't own a bass boat. So the kayak was the next best thing. I've never looked back, and I love kayak fishing.
Nice. Now, we don't get to ask Conrad this question, but we'll get to ask you, if you win and you move on to the Final Four, you get to face either the winner of Jason Campbell and Joel Spear. Have you been paying attention to what those guys have been doing throughout the tournament? And are you excited to face one of those guys if you're able to move on?
Absolutely, man. I've been paying attention to everybody in this bracket. It's addicting. But, as far as those two guys, both great dudes, humble dudes, and I watched their interview last night. And, they put up some big numbers in this tournament as well. So you can't overlook anyone. They're both hammers, both sticks. And, if I had to, pick one to face, I think I would be leaning more towards Jason, being a Texas guy. I'm always rooting for Texas if there's a Texas angler in the matchup. But, that'd be fun to go up against him. But nothing against Joel. He's a hammer too. I mean, he put up 93 inches in Arkansas last week. That was
huge. Impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. So, I mean, yeah, I really don't know. It could go 50-50 with those guys, and I'll be glad to face whoever next weekend.
Weird question, but I want to kind of get your mind where this is. Other than your dad, because everybody says their dad, give me 3 guys. If you were going on a bass boat trip, give me 3 guys that you would fish with.
Well, like 3 pros or like...
It doesn't matter. It could be 3 of any person on earth.
Oh,
Who are
okay.
the 3 guys that you want to go on a fishing trip with?
Well, I've got a younger and an older brother. I'd definitely go with both of those guys. They're always fun to fish with. One name's Luke, and the other's name's Zach. He was commenting on there. And then the third, if I couldn't pick my father, I'd have to go with probably Mike Iaconelli. It just seems like a good time.
It sounds like an awesome time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool, man.
And back to finish up, the talking about the bracket and things like that. Let's go to the other side of the bracket. Let's say J.R. Maccabee out of San Antonio, Texas is in the finals. Here's the 4 anglers that you could possibly face. Marty Hughes, a KBBT All-Star. Sherman Bishop, another KBBT All-Star. Okay, John Fox, and then a rookie like yourself, Mr. Jared Brockelman. Who would you enjoy and who would you want to face? And who do you think the stiffest competition on that side coming out of that side is?
Well, I mean, they're all putting up big numbers. They're all hammers. I mean, there's a reason why they're still in the tournament. But if I had to pick one guy, I think I'd want to go up against John Fox just because of what he's doing and what he's putting up. And I want to be that top guy. And I want to beat the best. And I think he's the only guy that's broke 100 in this tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Someone might have did it, but I think he's the only one. So if I had to pick someone, that's who I'd want to go up against, the top dog.
Yeah. I mean, John had the biggest bag of the tournament in week 1, biggest bag of the tournament week 2, and I think second or third biggest bag last week.
Right.
So I mean, he's been the guy that everybody's been chasing. He's going against Jared Brockelman, and Jared said in his interview yesterday with John that he was confident that he could put up those numbers in Texas and compete with that Florida. It kind of sounds like what you're saying with Conrad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a classic matchup. Anytime you got Texas and Florida guys going at it, big bass. The states are known for that, so it can go any way with any matchup that's a Texas Florida. It's and it could all depend on conditions. My conditions look really good this weekend. It's been stable all week long, so I expect the bite to be pretty well. I don't know what Conrad's or any of the Florida guys are going to have this week, but that could be the difference too. Just a simple condition change.
And to finish out that thought, you're in the finals, John Fox in the finals. It's your ideal matchup. What would it mean for you to win KBBT qualifying bracket number 2 and be a champion?
You know, it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but that'd mean everything to me. You know, there's a reason why we do this, and 6 weekends in a row being the most consistent guy and winning at the end of the tournament, that would mean a lot. You know, all the miles, all the hard work, all the pre-fishing, you know, putting all that in and getting something out of it would mean a lot to me.
It's a grind,
Well,
man.
and
I mean, we say this all the time. Embrace the grind. It's a grind. I mean, you're
Oh, yeah.
fishing 5-6 weeks in a row. You're fishing, back-to-back days. Sometimes you're fishing, all sorts of conditions. This is not just your one and done, one day tournament, 2 day tournament deal. This is, you have to go through a grind to get to be champion, and it's, you say what you want, man, but this is a championship like really none other, because you have to be consistent. It's like the NCAA, NCAA bracket. I mean, you have to go through this grind, man. It's freaking awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You got to be consistent, because if you slip up, you could be out. So
Yeah, no doubt.
Were you able to try any of the KBBT coffee yet?
No, we ordered a couple shirts. We got those in. I haven't tried the coffee yet. I'm not a big coffee guy. My wife might like it.
Oh, it's good stuff, man.
There you go.
It's good stuff.
Greg, tell us about the coffee real quick, man.
Oh, the coffee's amazing. It's well, there's 2 different kinds. There's dark and medium blend, but the blends we have is back when I owned a coffee shop. We came up with this blend, and it's roasted out of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's a 5-bean blend from all across the world, and it's by far some of the best coffee you'll ever have. And I'm very proud of it. And then we have a dark roast that's coming out of Papua New Guinea beans, and they're just tremendous. It's fresh, just really, really good stuff. I mean, coffee, you can tell, like, no offense to Starbucks, but Starbucks absolutely sucks. And it's a burnt bean, and the reason why they burn it is because they try to preserve it, and they burn the oils. It's kind of like when you burn a popcorn seed, and you roast it and you roast it and you roast it and you burn it, and all you're doing is pouring water over burnt beans, and that's what Starbucks is. It's burnt over, overly roasted beans, and they only do that because they have so many stores they have to fulfill that they lose their freshness, they lose their taste, they lose their validity of the bean. And a lot of times when people drink coffee, they have this hard acidic effect, and they have like heartburn, and this is because you're drinking burnt oil. And if you don't have fresh coffee, fresh and roasted properly at proper temperatures as a slow roast, then you're going to get that acidic effect. So that's what our coffee, and again, it's something that, I mean, I'm a coffee aficionado. I've worked tirelessly with hours and hours and hours with our roaster and to get the coffee right. And again, it's something me and my partner did years ago, and it's great. It's a great coffee blend.
Yeah, and JR, I mean, obviously talking about the best part of waking up, it's not Folgers in your cup, but it sounds like it might be KBBT in your cup. Talking about that, man, what is your routine to get ready for fishing, man? You listen to jam out to any songs, man? Like, will you do anything special in the morning? Wear any funky hats or socks or anything like that, man?
No, not very superstitious, nothing like that. I'll usually what my morning consists of, I grab a Red Bull. That's kind of my coffee, if you will. And then, I listen to some type of fishing podcast on the way to the lake, and that's about it. I don't do nothing too crazy.
That's right. Well, speaking of podcasts, we have KBBT podcast coming up here real soon.
Oh, nice.
Todd's going to be doing a lot of those, man. So we're going to be doing a lot of good stuff, and it's going to be good. Well,
Cool.
Listen, JR, man, I'm excited to broadcast to you on Saturday, man. You're a heck of a competitor. I love the way you fish, man. I really do. I'm a big fan, honestly. Big fan of yours, and I just love watching your numbers come in, how you fish, man. Man, you have your hands full, but if anybody's in this bracket's going to beat Conrad, I think it's going to be you. No offense, but Conrad, man, you better be ready to put up 100 inches, because he's coming after you.
I'm ready.
Let's
I'm
do it.
ready.
Let's
I got a
do
little
it.
something on my sleeve this weekend. I'm ready.
I love it, man. I love it. I
Hey,
love
and
it.
lastly, JR, before we kick this thing off, man, talk to Conrad. Look him in the face, tell him whatever you want to say, man, because this is getting real, and it's only getting closer. We're a day and a half away, and we're gonna know, what's going on. So what's up?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, man, if he slips up, if he pulls one of these, or 82 or whatever it is. If he pulls one of these, he's done. He's out.
Oh, that's great,
So we'll
man.
see.
That's great.
We'll
yeah.
see. I know I got to have a big bag. I know he's going to have a big bag. It should be a slugfest if everything goes the way it's been going. Really, what it boils down to is those one or two kicker fish that he's getting each weekend that I'm not. And like I said, if I fish clean, I should be right there with him. You know, I've missed a couple of key fish in the morning that would have definitely put me close to that 100 mark. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, if I fish clean, it'll be good.
Let me give you a little tactic on how to beat Conrad Benetti. Okay?
All right.
You ready for this?
Shoot, yeah.
If you can put up fish early, big fish early, you get in his head.
Get his head.
Because he changes. If he's fishing from behind, all bets are off.
Really.
Yes, sir.
Gets in his head, he starts fishing fast.
He's a scoreboard
like-
watcher, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I ain't gonna
JR,
lie, I
if
do
you
that
had
too.
if
I watch
you
the
had to
scoreboard.
pick, if you had to pick between the both of you, what's the number to win it?
If I had to pick, you know, he's averaging a 93-inch limit. I'm averaging a 91. I'm shooting for 98, 99. I think somewhere around there is that's gonna be the number. I would really love to break that 100-inch mark and just, you know, set it straight, you know, and beat the top guy. But yeah, I think 98, 99. I feel confident in.
That's going to be great. Yeah, I think you're going to need every bit of it, man. I really do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be fun, guys. Well, JR, if you have any sponsors or anybody you want to thank before we say goodbye to you, man, I mean, do you have anybody you want to thank before we head off?
Nah, no sponsors or anything like that, you know, but I'd like to thank my wife. You know, without her, I wouldn't be able to do this. You know, we've got a 3-year-old daughter, and every weekend that I've been gone, she's taking care of her and watching her. So without her, you know, I definitely couldn't do this. And she's a big supporter. She's always watching the leaderboard. She's always sending me updates throughout the day. So she's the one that keeps me going. Same with my family, my mother, you know, father, my grandma. They're always commenting on there. They're always giving me updates and support. So, you know, big shout out to them.
Well, we have some sponsors watching right now. I'm telling you, get on board with this guy. He's a heck of a fisherman. He's a mouthpiece, good mouthpiece, man, and he's not afraid to get out there and promote product, man. Get on board with JR Mockaby. I think you won't be sorry. Give him some love.
I appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, good luck, bro.
Anybody ever tell you kind of look like Luke Combs a little bit?
He does. He does.
Dude, I get that all the time.
You do look
I
like
get
Luke
it all the
Combs.
time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we need to put some Columbia hat and a shirt on you, buddy, and you're freaking Luke Combs' brother.
Dude, I get it all the time. It's
Yeah, man.
hilarious.
For sure.
Greg Nosar, Todd Patrick, JR Mockaby, a little bit of Conrad Benetti. Thanks for tuning into this Elite 8 Angler interview. Check out JR on Saturday, and Greg, maybe if I can hop on, I'll be on as well. JR versus Conrad.
Yep.
To see who goes to the Final Four, going to be a matchup.
All right, JR, we're going to go to the next interview here real quick. Todd, I hope you stay on, man, because I've got the other two here right now, man. Let's roll.
Let's
All
go
right,
with
y'all
it.
take it easy.
All right,
Thanks for
JR.
having me.
See you, JR.
See you later.
Hey, Greg.
What's going on, man?
Not much, buddy.
All right, we're waiting on Mr. Marty Hughes, the ghost himself right there.
The legend himself.
There he is.
Marty, what's up?
Howdy.
What's going on, man?
Not much, buddy.
Oh, we're getting a little feedback. Oh, all right, I think we're ready. Marty, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Todd, take it over, bro.
All right, guys, here we are. Another Elite 8 Angler interview here with Sherman Bishop out of Florida, Marty Hughes out of Nebraska, and this is going to be a great interview. I was a little unprepared because of the way we're doing this with the anglers that these guys went through, but I'm bringing it up on my phone. We're going to talk about it. But, guys, welcome, Sherman, Marty. What's up? How you doing?
Good.
Good. Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Marty, you've been here. What is this the third time I've interviewed you now? Maybe, huh?
Like 3 times, yeah. I think
Three
three
times.
times. Well, 2 times in the 8. What is this? The 8, and 1 time.
Yeah, 2 times in the Elite 8 and 1 time for a team.
Sweet 16 and team. I think. I don't know. Who knows? I just like doing this. Man.
Well, we enjoy having you. But Marty, let's talk about your road, brother. You have taken out Joel Scarborough, Jeremy Brandis, and Shad Schaefer. Tell us about your road so far to get here. And last week, tell us about that Shad Schaefer matchup, because we were split amongst the judging panel picking that, and you came through, and it was really cool to see you come on through. So tell us about your road to the Elite Eight.
Well, it looks like Sherman Bishop's on that road right now. That's gonna be an uphill battle. It'd be like going to the Rockies and trying to drive uphill right now. So you're gonna be tough. You're tough, Sherman.
Thanks, Mark.
And you got that Florida climate, and I've got the Great White North right now. So it's not actually. We've had 80-degree temps here.
Oh wow.
So get ready.
It's not good. I'm telling you, man, this is going to be one heck of a matchup too. We talk about the Conrad Benetti, J.R. Maccabee matchup, but this matchup here is going to be no joke too, man. This is going to be a heavy hitter matchup.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go over that road. Really, I'm fortunate to be here because the first weekend it was kind of cold out, and I went out in the morning and I got a couple bass. And I felt so guilty because my son was home from college and my wife was making dinner, and I thought I better go home. So I went home for 3 hours and ate dinner with my family, and I watched church online, did my notes, and then I thought, you know what? I just might as well go back out there. And then I hooked into a 1975 right away, and I thought I could just. And of course, Mark's egging me on. You need 2 more fish, man. And I'm like, well, they're not biting. So I had this one spot I kept going back to, and I kept adding fish. Well, then I had 5 fishing, but one of them was a 10-incher. And so Mark got a hold of me and says, hey, man, you got to have a 12. I'm like, crap. So I went and I think I got a 16 or 17 after that. And then I think I had 84.5 inches that day. And Joel had 7.75, so I got the win. So it benefited to go home.
Yeah, sometimes it does.
Warm
Clear your mind.
And also warm up. And then he was out of Illinois, and then there was Jeremy Brandis out of Iowa. He's pretty good angler.
He's really good.
And
You
that
made me
day,
eat crow on that one, Marty.
Huh?
You made me eat crow on that one, Marty.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. I was like, now I'm gonna tell you something. I had a coach in college, and he said, Marty, let your actions and your feet do the talking. Shut up and just compete. And I said, I learned a lot from that. I still got mouthy, sometimes, but I ate crow a lot there. So, but I've learned to be humble, and you just let your actions do the talking. I don't get into like, well, I'm gonna do this to you and all that. I just try to make my effort, best I can. And then anyway, I that day I didn't get a real big one, but the 18s kind of kept me going. And then and I went that week. I pre-fished a lake south of here. Remember, our lakes here are like the kiddie ponds at your pools in Florida. The kiddie pools, and you're in the pool. I mean, that's how we're not very big. They're just real. They're like a finger of a lake, like Kentucky Lake, a finger down there. That's our lakes, and so there's not much room in there. And then I pre-fished it, and they were biting pretty good. So I let them alone. Went back, and that next day, I got. Oh no, that was the second one. Yeah, Jeremy, I got 90.5 inches that day, and that was when I got the 18s. And then I thought I'd hit it again the next week against Shad Schaefer. I wrote all this down, and it was cold all that week, and the water went down to like 44, 45 degrees. Sherman, are you familiar with that kind of water, or you ever get that cold down there?
No, I don't get that cold down here.
Yeah. Well, it was just downright cold all week, and it was warm that day a little bit, but the fish just weren't moving. And I tried using moving baits, nothing. So I went to a Ned rig, and bam, they just hit it. and then I went to some Nico, and then I thought I'm gonna go to my honey hole. Nothing. Went to Pony Creek, South in Kansas. Nothing. And you guys saw the wind, Greg.
Oh
that
yeah,
day. It was blowing.
it was blowing. Yep.
And so I went back. I went back to this lake south of town, and I ended up catching 39 bass there.
Wow.
And two of them were over 19, and then I didn't know what Shad had. I thought Shad didn't have cell phone reception. I thought he's putting up mid-90s for sure. And I come up with 88.75, and then come to find out he didn't get a bite all day.
Yeah, man, we were waiting on Shad to come through. I mean, sometimes that's just the way it works, man. I thought for sure Shad was going to show up, with something. I thought, at least, mid to low 80s, and it just died on him. I mean, he talked to Mark all day, and he just could not get a bite at all. I mean, we've all been there, man. It just doesn't make sense. He was fishing literally the same state, same conditions. He couldn't get the fish to bite worth nothing. And Shad's one heck of a fisherman.
Yeah.
And for him not to get a bite is, it was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate. I got to fish. I got to fish guys in my area to move ahead, which is kind of cool. I mean, so I'm kind of in the region, but I think I'm the only guy north of the Arkansas border.
You are.
Round. So
You are.
I hope it doesn't snow.
Well, I mean, you guys have decided to go ahead and fish on Sunday, and it
Yeah.
has to do with the work schedules and stuff, which is admirable, and we appreciate that. I'll tell you, I mean, there's some weather moving into Florida. There's another stinking storm coming. I mean, we can't get rid of this hurricane season, but tropical storm Ida is supposed to come through Florida shortly after Sunday, but it's definitely going to affect the weather conditions. So, I mean, here we go again. I mean, Sherman, you know how it is, man. Fishing, wind, and I mean, good God, it's been windy, every weekend in Florida since I've been there. You just can't catch a break, and I mean, what was it? Was it 2 weeks ago? You were headed to Kenansville, then you went to Fellsmere because of I think it's when you're facing Bobby. And
yeah, it's when I'm facing Bobby.
Yeah, and so I know how you are, man. You're very you're very adamant about your routine, and when your routine messes up, it kind of messes up your whole day. But you kept your head down, man. And those of you who don't know, Sherman is my licensed therapist. Because when I was at Kenansville in my first week, I was crying like a baby to him, man. I was like, this is bullcrap. I can't get out of here, man. I was having 30, 40-mile winds pin me into a mat, and I told Sherman, man, I mean, I said some words that I needed to go to confession box for or something. But he was there listening, and then he calls me doing the same thing. I'm like, hey, that's all good, man. It's all good, buddy. But but Sherman, dude, you plowed through, man. I mean, you've beat, Bobby with what was it, 92 to 90 inches or something, 94 to 92 inches or something like that.
92 and a half to 90 and a half. I
yeah,
think.
I mean, and then
Brad Case week 1.
Yeah, and then Brad Case. I mean, that's not an easy task by any means. And then last week you defeated Silas Garrett.
Silas.
Yeah, and
There's names under your belt.
And to be honest with you, he wasn't even supposed to be in this bracket. He got switched at the last minute because he had to work. So, but I would say by far he had probably one of the hardest routes to get here. And now you got to face Marty Hughes, man. Dude, does it ever stop?
It's not gonna stop. the names have just kept coming one after another every week.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and then the potential for him to have Jared or for either one of these guys to have Jared or John Fox next week. My gosh.
Yeah. I mean, as we've learned, Jared Brockelman is becoming a KBBT superstar. I mean, the guy never had a Tourney X profile until he started fishing the tournament, 3 weeks ago with KBBT. Fishes his first kayak tournaments, and he's in the Elite Eight. And he's putting up huge numbers. It's just incredible.
That's what's good about this style of fishing, though. In the bracket area like that, when you fish your home waters, even if people don't know who you are in the beginning, you can make a name for yourself fairly quickly.
Oh, no doubt, man, no doubt. Marty, I mean, look, man, you're stable in the kayak community, man. I mean, you've you've been a huge supporter of KBBT, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I miss seeing you down at Guntersville. I really wanted to see you and shake your hand, man. I just missed you. I think at the event, man. I wanted to shake your hand and say thank you for all you've done for us. You've been tremendous with us, and Sherman, you as well, man. You guys are like our torch carriers. We can only put up so much and do so much, but it takes fishermen like you guys to be, who KBBT is. And I think it's more than just fishing, guys. I really do. I think, it's about family, man. It's about caring about the other angler and caring about the other person. Like right now, we've got Catherine Fields going through some health issues and situations. She's fished with us, and we've reached out to her, and we're more than fishing. And I think you guys are the torchbearers of that. You guys are much more than just fishermen. You guys are family men. You guys are good sportsmen. You guys are true gentlemen of the sport. And I just want to say, on behalf of KBBT, thank you guys for what you've done for us.
You bet. You're welcome. Yeah, it's fun at school. Some of the teachers and kids, hey, who do you face this week? Who are you going against? Or how'd you do? Because a lot of us on Facebook, but they want to know how you did in the bracket, and they love it. And then you talk to your friends and so forth. Some don't know what it is yet. They're not used to it, but it's come a long way, I think. And from the very beginning, when we had the COVID thing come up, I'm like, man, I want to fish, and I want to fish competitively, and then you guys come out with that bracket, and I'm like a bracket fanatic. So
yeah,
it was perfect. So you guys came out at the right time, and it's growing. So
yeah, it is. And as I said, I mean, it's not because of anything we've done. It's because of you guys, putting out, the effort and becoming, again, our spokesman. You know what I mean? All we're doing is putting names on a piece of paper, man. You know what I mean? And we're, we've done some things here and there, man. But it's been great. But that's one of the reasons why I want to come on tonight too, guys. Is to tell you guys how much, as we wrap up the year, wrap up this tournament, you guys have been fantastic to us, and as person with complete utmost respect for you guys. I just want to say thank you guys for doing what you're doing. It's amazing.
Yeah, thanks. This is a tough year to be an educator.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you know that or not. But
yeah,
you got kids, so this is kind of therapy for me. I can like when we were in high school and you got out there in the football field or whatever you were competing in, nothing else mattered. And all your problem, no matter what you're facing in your life, you could just focus on that. This same with this fishing, kayak fishing, and this bracket is we do this kind of stuff, and those things go away for a little bit, and it's the best therapy that we can do. I think and we got people around us that are really good people like you guys.
Yeah.
And how many friends have we met?
Oh, no question.
With this, and like you said, I wanted to see you down there at Nationals too. Unfortunately, I couldn't see straight anyway at that time.
Yeah.
So it was brutal, and everybody was double, so it was a blur anyway.
Yeah, no
Oh
doubt.
God, you got to see me double? I bet you that was a sight. Hang on, does double me even fit in your vision, bro?
Oh my God.
Here's something. I want to tell you something though, Greg. For that, so I knew I couldn't drive. There was no way. And I taped my glasses so that I could see on one side, and I didn't know what was going on, and I was feeling weird, and so I called, and then some guys from Omaha were going to go, but timing wasn't right, and so I called Richie up like 8 hours before he's going to leave, Richie McMichael, and he lives 2 hours south of me, and I go, hey man, can I hook up with you to go to the Nationals? I said, I don't want to miss that. I don't want to let our team down. He goes, sure. He says, can you get here? And so believe it or not, I drove. It took me about 3.5 hours to go the 2 hours. I took out a stop sign, but I made it. And then he took care of me the rest of the way. And they took everybody, Joshua Booth, all those guys. I was in the cabin, Troy Inky, all those guys just helped me. And day one was horrible for me. I just couldn't land a fish. I couldn't see. And then this guy, what was his name? He's a pilot from Ohio. And
George Nemeth.
George Nemeth. Hey, Marty, take, and he cuts the tape a little bit, so I get peripheral vision. The next day, I do really well. And the next day after that, I did well, but I wasn't in the top 100, But it changed everything, and I was able to see a little bit better. So it was kind of good. I went there, and then it took about 2 weeks for it to go away. But you just have those kinds of friends in the kayak community when you do this, and all you guys, you've just been great. And it would have been good to see everybody down there, but that lake is so big, and we were all going places. So
Yeah.
But someday I'm going to get to the Chesapeake Bay here soon.
Yeah,
'cause I
man.
still have family there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Get you out there
Yeah,
on
we're
striper
gonna fish.
fishing.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
bet.
No doubt. Well, Todd, let's take it over, man. Do your thing.
Man, I mean, this is, we've been with both you guys so far, on and off. Sherman talked to you before, Marty talked to you guys, man. It's just a treat to be able to have two anglers like yourselves going against each other. I mean, you guys have been following along each other. I know Marty knows numbers. Sherman, I know that you're, constantly, probably checking up on things. What do you guys think it's going to take, to maybe take one another out in this round? Sherman, we'll start with you.
Of course, you'd start with me. Well, considering Marty's fishing 80-degree weather, nice, beautiful conditions there in Nebraska. I'm still guessing it's probably going to take mid to high 90s. I mean, I think Marty's due to break out.
Man, I know Sherman can get there. I would say I have a good chance of hitting 90 to 92, depending on things. I'm going to be at Truman on Saturday for the All-American.
Right.
And I don't know what I'll do, if I'll go back or stay there. I'd like to go back because I love fishing my home waters, and, I can put up high 80s for sure. Just don't know. I mean, I know that the high pressure system this week slowed fishing down, but the wind's going to blow this weekend, which is going to turn them on. So I think I'm going to have perfect conditions no matter where I'm at, I think.
Yeah, and I think Truman actually, since you are going to the All-American, that's awesome. I'm pretty sure Truman, supposedly from what I hear, pre-fishing has been a nice bite. So we'll have to see how that works out for you, Marty, if maybe you decide to stay. It's going to be like just like when you went to what was it, Grand Lake earlier this year, and you're in the bracket, or what was the one you went to where it was flooded?
Table Rock.
Table Rock, yeah.
And day 2 was not very good for me. Day 1 I won Table Rock, but day 2 was not good. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
They flushed it that day and made it tough. But Truman's got some big bass in it. The issue is this. I know Sherman said he's going to be tired, but I got to tell you this. Tomorrow, I got meetings all morning. I got to travel to Kearney, Nebraska, which is 3 hours to the west for a football game, and then come back 3 hours, get back at midnight, get in my truck and my camper, and then travel to Truman and get there by 5 for check-in.
Wow.
So it's going to be a trek, but I've done it before, so I ain't worried.
The things we do, man, just for stupid fish.
But hopefully I'm not going to be driving though to Kearney. I'll have somebody else drive and try to sleep a little bit, So.
No, I got you, man.
Marty, while we're talking about your school, do you want to reveal like what school you're at, and then give a shout out to your football team, because they're having a heck of a run in the playoffs there in Nebraska?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. Auburn High School. They won a state title in 2006. They have not been past the first round since then. And our guys now are in the second round, which is the quarterfinals. A young team, and we don't have real big guys, but they just have a ton of heart. By the way, we have a 2-time state championship basketball team in a row. My son he played on that team. He graduated. But our point guard, now you've never seen this, I'll bet. Our point guard is the center of the football team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What an athlete.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's a linebacker.
Yeah. I figured he played both sides of the ball.
Yeah. But, and he's a leader. But we've got guys like that, we're like I said, we're not real big, but we got a little speed, and we got great coaches and great kids, and they just have a ton of heart. And it shows in everything. Our culture's that way here, and with our boys and our girls. Our girls run state softball. But, yeah, big shout-out to Auburn Bulldogs, because we play Kearney Catholic there. I think we're rated like, I don't know, we're both rated in the top 6 or 7, somewhere in there. But the number 1 team in the state beat us by 1 point the first game of the year.
And
Wow.
who's that?
That would be Ashland Greenwood. They're about an hour north of us.
Okay, because I drove through Kearney on my way out. I went to Grand Island and everything. I was just in your area
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
coming out here to California again. So
Wow.
it's cool. That's cool that we give a shout out there to your team. Because we never really get to get into that kind of depth there. And that football team's having a heck of a run. And good luck to the Auburn. What is it? Bobcat? What does he say it is?
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. Don't disrespect
Auburn
the guys,
Bulldogs.
man. So let me ask you. I mean, Sherman, did you ever play sports? You look like you did, right? In high
I did.
school.
I actually surprised everybody. I ran cross country and track.
Wow.
Nice.
No kidding. Did you play like basketball, football, baseball, anything like that?
No.
Just ran.
No, did not.
So let me ask you guys this, okay? This is kind of an off a tangent. This has nothing to do with fishing, but this is just one of my things I got to ask you. I mean, I guess I'm old school about this. We see a lot of sports being played, and these kids that are raising, these parents are raising these kids in specialty sports, meaning that they're taking these kids and they're raising them just in that specific sport. Like, if you've ever been in the A1A or either in baseball or basketball or whatever else, they start them out with a ball in their hands and they play that one sport now. All the way through, they try to make them the greatest basketball player ever or the greatest baseball player ever. Now, I don't know about you, man. I played 5 different sports when I was a kid, and I think that made me an overall, better athlete and get my hand-eye coordination better. And I played golf, baseball, football, tennis, whatever. I mean, football, whatever ball had, I was out there playing. I mean, Marty, you're a principal in school. Are you seeing kids playing these different sports, or is that an anomaly right now?
It's back. Some do, and some parents have high hopes for their kids. My son played at a very high level. When he finished high school, he says, "Dad, I'm gonna go get my degree and I'm gonna get a job. I'm done playing basketball." He accomplished all his goals. He could play college basketball, but he thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. Now, I will say this, that a lot of, like our own son, like a lot of kids, they'll have their main sport, but they'll do 1 or 2 other sports to keep themselves balanced. I see a little bit of it here, but not real bad. I see a lot of kids, they focus on one sport, but they do play 1 or 2 others.
Right.
And they do lift and all that. The ones that are living a pipe dream of you're going to be a Division I athlete, that's like the percentages are so low. And then
Right.
they're heartbroken when it doesn't happen, But I think here in Nebraska, kids just love all sports, but there are some, and some get private lessons even while they're playing their sport, Like I can tell you, our point guard, he's always a center of football team. I guarantee he's shooting at night, he's going to still work on his game,
Right.
And like for me, Sherman, also, I was I did not run cross country in high school. I played football, but then went to college and I ran cross country in college, of all things. And so I didn't even know what it was. And I ran track, but I did, like you said, Greg. Yeah, we played every sport: baseball, football, wrestling, whatever, when it came up. But I will say this though: I think when you get to by the time before 9th grade, get involved try as many things as you can. And then in 9th grade, yeah, you can specialize, but make sure you balance yourself out with 1 or 2 other things so you don't get where the muscles are just for one sport and then you do something different and get injured.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, muscle memory is muscle memory is important. Like, I played golf, and we constantly practice our swing and develop muscle memory, everything else. But dude, if I try to play baseball and golf, my coach told me, look, you need to choose one of the 2 sports. You're not going to play both, because you're playing baseball would mess up my golf swing, and then vice versa. You know what I mean? So I was yelled at and said I had to pick a sport and move on. But it was incredible.
Well, the other thing though is teaching grit. You might be a prodigy in your sport, but you got to learn how to have grit.
Yeah. I think that
So
carries
you
over
tough-
fishing, Marty. I really do.
Huh?
I think that I carry those, this is a competitive sport, and too many people, you know, like for instance, even in live events, Marty, when they're at, at 12 o'clock and they don't have two fish on the board, they give up, they quit.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see it all the time.
You know
I
what I
see it
mean?
all the time.
Dude, I'm going from buzzer to buzzer, man. I'm not getting.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting
Yeah.
down. I mean, I'm going buzzer to buzzer. I don't care how many fish I have on the board.
Oh yeah.
I've met so many anglers out there that pack it up after a half of a bad day on the water and say, I can't figure it out and I'm leaving. And I'm just like, but you just paid like $100 to be here and you drove 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going home. I'm mad. All right.
But here's the thing, though.
Favorite phrase of all time when that happens. Well, I swung for the fences and didn't connect.
Hold on. The people's favorite's on.
The people's champ is on.
We're the people's champ.
Hey,
Favorite.
It's the people's champion, but the principal is the people's favorite. And not only the principal, but Huckleberry in the house down here. I see you, Sherman. What's happening, fellas?
Sherman, I want to get back to this because you've seen it time and time again. We've watched you do this. How much of this sport in fishing is mental, man? I mean, literally. I mean, how much of this sport is truly, truly mental?
I would say probably mid to high 90s is probably mental.
Wow.
I mean, I know there's a physical aspect to it, but the mental aspect of tournament fishing is probably it's the biggest ratio for sure.
I want you to
simply because it goes into your mental preparation goes into it weeks in advance.
And that's where I want you to go. I want you to.
With Marty, since I knew it was going to happen.
I want you to go into preparing. How do you prepare, Sherman? Let's say you have a big tournament coming up. What you do? Go into like you fished in the national championship. Both of you guys fished the national championship. Sherman, go into your preparation and teach these anglers that are new. What does it take to become a true, fisherman? Like a competitive fisherman like you. I mean, you're well respected, well renowned. When they see your name on the board and they know you're in a tournament, they're crapping their pants because they know that they know that you're in this tournament. They got their hands full. Talk about Sherman Bishop's preparation to a tournament, man. It's guys, it's impressive. I've heard him talk about it. I want you to hear it.
Teach us Yale Huckleberry.
You mentioned the national championship in this. When I actually was preparing for the national championship, my preparation started before I even qualified for it. I had actually already had one of the Guntersville hotspot maps already ordered. I was already looking at Navionics. I mean, you have to think of what lake you're going to go to, especially doing live events. You have to look at depth charts. You have to look at what you're good at fishing at. I mean, you look at a lake like Guntersville, there's different areas you can go to for your different styles. So you have to narrow the lake down into sections because unlike bass boats where if you go to a bad section, there's nothing biting, you can just pack up, go 80 miles an hour across the lake and find somewhere to fish. With a kayak, you really have to prepare in advance for the certain areas that you need to go to. So once you get there, there's no packing up.
That's right.
I mean, you can pack up and make small moves during the day, but for the most part, you're grandfathered into your decisions. So my preparation starts with that, looking at, what kind of, if there's a shad spawn, what kind of baits are there in the lakes that you're going to. You really have to get stuff. I have a custom crankbait lady that I have custom paint all my stuff to match the forage that's in the lakes that I'm going to fish. I had it done for Guntersville. I had threadfin shad crankbaits made, and a lot of the bass that I caught that got me in the top 100 came off of those. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it, to your equipment, making sure everything's ready. You don't want to get out there and have a rudder cable break. I don't know. It's just it's a lot
that goes into it.
It's a lot that goes into it.
I mean, you have to become a student. You have to become a student of the game, and you're always learning, right? I mean, Marty. I'll be honest with you. I took a Nico rig for the first time ever in my life down to Guntersville. I threw a freaking Nico rig.
Hey, now hold on. Who told you to do it?
Marcus did. But who told you to do it?
Marty did.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's something I've never thrown in my entire life. You know what I mean? But I learned. I mean, look, I was like, for God's sakes, Marty's doing that. You know what I mean? I might as well go ahead and take a Nico rig. You know, might pull a table rock out. You know what I mean? you know. So.
And I do want to say something to Marty. Marty, you know, when we're talking about tournament preparation, I've gotten to see your preparation firsthand, like Greg has gotten to see Sherman's. You know, I came up and stayed with you in Oklahoma. We talked that whole week, even though I wasn't able to pre-fish. It was like I was pre-fishing through your eyes because we were communicating the whole time. You talk about a guy that really breaks down a water on maps, Navionics, and then goes out and breaks it down on the water. You know, Marty, I want to give you a chance to talk about that. You know, about your preparation too, because you do. It's insane being able to just sit back, kick my feet up on the dashboard, watch your mind at work.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in my truck is basically a mini Bass Pros. What I've got are large containers, and then I've got like ammo containers in each of those, and each of those is labeled, and it might have lizards or whatever I have, you know, all my stuff's organized that way, and it's labeled on the outside of the box. But what I do before the tournament is I have one little plastic tray, and I actually am somebody who keeps it pretty simple, but I have one little tray, and it basically has the baits I think the bass might want, not what I think they want, but what they might want for that particular lake. And then I have extras in there for that. And then I have my basket behind me, and I bring the bigger kits with that. But basically, I like to bring 3 or 4 rods, but like, you know, if I don't know an area, I might have to bring 6 to 8 because I don't know what I'm going to be able to use. But by the time I get going, I'm down to 1 or 2 rods and 1 or 2 baits that I think are going to work that day with those bass, what they want. And then the other thing is I have a shop here at home. And I spend the whole week before just like, it's like when we were little, when we were sorting our Hot Wheel cars, you know, it's like you're just sorting back and forth. Oh, well, nah, I don't, you know, colors. And then you go and study videos and you're looking at what guys are using, and they don't say what they're using, but you just try to, you guys know, you looking at bass's mouth, what color is he using? What's he doing? What's working there? And then you're checking your lines, making sure you get the right line to use, and you have that with you. But basically I just try to keep it as simple as I can for that tournament.
I got a question for both of you. Why don't we ever fish the old baits that worked before?
I was thinking that the other day.
H&H.
Like my favorite all-time bait when I was a kid, and it caught fish no matter where I was at, was a floating Rapala, black and gold floating Rapala, and it would catch everything. You know what I mean? I haven't thrown a floating Rapala in years, but you know, I mean, there's so many different baits that, you know, when we grew up as kids, we caught bass all day long, and we won't even touch them now.
Yeah. Well, I used a yellow shyster. It caught everything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Texas Rick Baby Brush Hog was always my go-to. I don't even think I have one of those anymore.
How about you, Sherman?
My old go-to was exactly what Conrad got stuck with choosing, was a 10-inch ribbon tail worm. And actually, I fished, the very first tournament I ever kayak fished, competitively, that one's at local, I fished the Hobie BOS Open here in Florida on Lake Harris. And I actually chose to go with what I was comfortable with, and I took, because I'd never fished Lake Harris before, so I took a 10-inch ribbon tail worm. I knew it was heavily grassed, but it was sparse, so I took it out there, and I was actually following a bass boat. I was going down a bank, and he was using creature baits like the brush hogs and stuff. What few bass he was pulling in, I was pulling in 4 to 1 on him using a worm. But you're right, the old stuff that nobody uses anymore, the bass haven't quit biting it. We just quit throwing it.
That's my point. So we have all these different baits that come out, you know, these chatter baits and the jackhammers and, you know, all this other stuff that, you know, the quote unquote higher technology baits and stuff. But we're carrying tens, you know, we're carrying 8 or 9 poles on our kayaks. We're carrying 15 different tackle boxes. We've got barely enough room for anything that's in our tackle box. And really, guys, I remember, going out with one rod, 2-3 baits, and absolutely destroying bass all day long. Have we made fishing more complicated than it needs to be?
In some respects, yeah. Now, if you look at my old videos, you'll see one rod and a small box of lures. That's it. That's all I would take out in the kayak.
But would you dare do that in a tournament today?
I have. I've actually taken one little bag of Nikos. That's it. And fish the tournament.
It forces you to do it.
I think that kind of builds down to confidence level. I mean,
Yeah.
How confident are you in that one bait? If anything, I think anglers today have grown less. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna fish this tournament on Welsh this weekend. The same time these great anglers are on the water, I'm bringing 3 rods. That's just a confidence thing. Honestly, I think if Todd was to go out and fish St. Clair during the spawn, Todd, I guarantee as much as time you spend around St. Clair, you could go out with one bait, one rod, and be confident in it.
Drop shot.
Right? See, I think that just goes down to
chartreuse. Right.
And I would know.
yeah.
I would bring 15 rods to St. Clair. Todd be out there out fishing me with one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't outfish anybody, but thanks for the thanks for that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your point is definitely valid though, Marcus. It's like, if you're confident in something, just like we just interviewed J.R. Mockabee, said, man, what have you been doing? I've been doing one thing, man. I've been frogging all day, every day. That's all he's been doing. And, Brad Case, he frogs all the time. Josh Stewart, wacky rig worm, maybe a chatterbait here or there. That's it. Some of these guys, we throw all day long. I throw a jig. If they don't bite the jig, I'll present it another way. They're going to bite the jig for me. You have these specialists that are some of the best anglers in the country. It works.
Well, one thing, guys, that I've noticed is I watch a lot of these great anglers in the water when I'm fishing in tournaments, and I just watch them just to see what separates them from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've noticed is that their lures in the water all the time.
That's right.
They cast more times. It's in the water more, and they just don't stop. I follow guys like Richie McMichael. He just never stops.
Yep.
And
Right.
and the other key is they don't get rattled. They've got 2 fish by 10 or 11, 12, and they're like, that's all right. It's all right. And then and all of a sudden they got another one. And then an hour later they got another one, and they're all big. And that's what separates those great anglers out there, to me.
I agree with you, Marty, but I think it goes one step further. I think it goes back to what Sherman was talking about and what you were talking about earlier, that pre-preparation.
Yeah.
I've sat there and I've been around guys like Siddiqui and Cody Milton and Josh Stewart and Jackson Orr and his dad. My God, we're at a tournament, we're at eating dinner, and they're doing Navionics nonstop on their cell phones.
Yeah.
They're bringing up waypoints. They got their Garmin off their boat, and they're marking waypoints and matching it to their phone. I mean, these guys, it's the off the water preparation. I think that, and the way that a guy will break down the water and what he's looking for, I think that's another huge thing that separates the best of the best.
Well, they're eliminating water too before they even get there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I try to do. Eliminate as much water as I can. Now in Nebraska, it's pretty easy.
It's this side of the lake or that side of the lake.
There's a rock over there. It's probably got 10 bass on it.
But to honestly be able to be a student of the game, to pay attention and to always to be teachable and to always be willing to try out new baits and to try to perfect your thing. That's another thing, guys, that I just mentioned. Man, I see you're always in these KBF state challenges all over the country. And you know what they do? I'll take out one bait that whole tournament, and I'm going to throw it and throw it and throw it, and I'm going to perfect my skill on that. particular bait until they're confident in it. Then that's another confidence bait that they have in their tackle box to throw. And I've learned so much from guys like you guys, Sherman, Marty, and all the other guys that were mentioned, just watching and being a student of the game.
One thing too, guys, is like I've guided for, I don't know, 16 years now, and I've learned more from guiding people than I would from any clinic or whatever. Just watching people when they fish. And you know who I learned from the best? Are you ready? Women. They're patient. They're way more patient than that.
Right.
I used to fish Christine Fisher before she was Christine Fisher.
Yeah.
And she's
right there over your shoulder.
But she was Christine Fisher then too.
Yeah.
And she's so meticulous and patient. And they do exactly like when you're getting, not Christine, because she knows what she's doing here, but let's say I take out someone they've never been there before, and they do exactly what you tell them, and then they're so patient with it. And by the way, here's how it works. I take the husband and wife out. The husband, I say, hey, I got some stuff here. He goes, no, I got my own stuff. I know what I'm doing. Okay, he takes off. The wife goes with me. She catches a 5-pound bass. Hey, honey, look over here. And he's looking, and then another hour, she catches another big one. And finally, he comes over like a whoop about 4 or 5 hours later and says, okay, I'm ready to do it your way. Because he had too much ego to begin with, and then he missed out. But there's so much more. So I learned so much about patience from taking the gals out too, in that.
Mm-hmm.
That was just nature of the beast for me.
Sherman, tell these guys about the lady at Kenansville. First time out, first cast.
So the first time, there was a guide service. They take people out on Kenansville all the time. They normally use live shiners, which, it's basically what they do there. But this lady never fished before. She's never casted a line before. She'd never even been in a bass boat before. She gets a guide service for her and her husband. They go down the main canal to the far corner where the far east side where it turns south. Well, it's a good corner. It's not now, Greg. I've been out there and I've seen it. They've destroyed it. But for a while, it was really good. It was packed in with hydrilla. So the guide stops. It's always been a big bass point. This lady's first cast, of course, she nails a 13.2, I think, 13-pound, 2-ounce bass. That's her first cast, her first bass.
13-pound bass.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, and by the way, I'm still chasing a 13-pound bass.
I know. Can you imagine?
I would then enjoy fishing for life.
It'd be over for me, man. If that was her husband, it'd be over, man. That's incredible. But yeah, I mean, it's. I do have a question for you. So, guys, I mean, you guys have fished enough tournaments, and you guys are seasoned pros, I would say. Are you guys a firm believer, if you pick a spot, right, are you going to stay at that spot pretty much all day and expect those fish to move in and out of that spot? I'm talking about bigger lakes, guys. I'm talking about, your bigger waterways. Or are you guys give it a couple hours, it's not going to bite, and then you're moving on? What's your strategy? I mean, what do you guys do in that situation?
That's a great question, Greg. Great comment on that. What I try to do is find an area, not just a spot, but an area. And it could be 80 yards long or 100 yards or whatever. But I'm going to look for an area that has deep water nearby and reloads, especially for a tournament. If it can reload, then I'm going to stay around there all day. That's what I've been doing the last 3 weeks. I've been staying by an area that reloaded, and actually it's about 100 yards long and a big horseshoe with rock and the sun shining on it, and it just keeps reloading, and they just go back and forth on it. And then I'll hit some odd spots just to see, but that's how I do it.
Yeah, I agree with Marty on this, because when I break down a map, the first thing I'm looking for is current, especially on a lake that may or may not have that much. I mean, for us down here, we have chains of lakes, so the current for us is actually in the canals that go from one lake to another lake. And I'll try to break down an area that's near the mouth of that canal, because the first thing I want to do is get to the current, and then I can move out into the other areas around it and fish for the larger bass. And then, like Marty said, give it a couple hours, go back, it's reloaded, and they're different bass. So they're just moving in and out. And you can peg a few more off of there, go back to your other spots. But I try to pick spots where I have an area, not just a spot.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'm a
we talked to Jr. and Maccabee, about tournament fishing and some things that he recommended, with tournament fishing and stuff like that. I mean, we're trying to be all better fishermen here, and I think, like you were talking about, I think patience is definitely a key. Jr. was talking about frog fishing and keeping with the frog bite all day long. And that's what he does. And it takes, like you're talking about, utmost patience. And when it's not working, you're thinking about, moving areas. You're thinking about, changing baits. And I think, again, we overcomplicate things sometimes, with our bait selection, not sticking with one or two baits, and the areas. And like I can tell you, I look back at Gunnersville, I had a pretty good first day. I was using a spinnerbait on structure all day long, and I was catching fish. And then when that bite didn't happen about 10 or 11 o'clock, I panicked, to be honest with you. I panicked. And, because the fish were not there, they were yesterday in all practice, I got up and left and started going 2 or 3 different spots trying to find places to go fish and, changing baits up and everything else. When you do that, you're literally finding a needle in a haystack because, you're trying to find fish at that specific time of the day, and you're trying to, find, and you're trying to go to the fish rather than the fish coming to you. And I screwed up, and that's what cost me a top 100, I think.
Richie, Christine, Troy Inky were all in the top 20. We were all fishing the same pattern. I just couldn't see where the darn the first day.
Yeah.
But they would reload where we were at.
Right.
Now, Christine, she's about 1.5 miles down from us, But we knew an area that we thought was going to produce. And here come the bass. As soon as we catch them, bass boats come over there, because you couldn't help but see it. But we thought we had a pretty good area there, and but it was a place that would reload off of a point in the vegetation there.
Then also, when you guys are looking at spots on maps, I mean, obviously it sounds pretty good, but when you find a pattern pre-fishing, maybe you weren't able to go and see a spot pre-fishing, but if you can find a map that mimics what you found fish on, that those are other points that you can make a run to during tournament day, correct? I mean, you guys would agree with that?
Yeah, I always have a plan A, B, and C, or spot or area A, B, and C. And like last week, area C was the best.
Right.
Yeah. And I started there. And my best lake had nothing. I mean, you saw it, Greg. I went there. It was
right.
It was just blown out from the wind there.
Yeah, that's what Jackson Moore said. At the national championship. On day one after he was a leader, he was on his C spot. And he said that it performed so well for him that that was his spot for 3 days. But what a run he had to get second place in the national championship there.
Todd, you brought up a good point about pre-fishing. Pre-fishing itself is a science because, one of the things that people do that anglers struggle with, you don't win on pre-fishing. And a lot of guys get that cocaine, that bass cocaine in them. They start catching monsters in that spot, and they want to keep fishing. What are you doing? You know what I mean? You're sore lipping your best spots, and I've seen experienced good fishermen find great spots the day before, 2 days before. I'll be honest with you. I'm a believer. Don't fish the day before tournaments and try to pre-fish unless you're struggling to find something. If you found something a day or two, or a couple days beforehand, leave that spot alone. Don't go out there and kill your spot. I mean, you guys agree or what?
Yeah, absolutely. The lake that if I fish Sunday, the lake that I fish, I have not touched it. I won't go back to it until it's tournament time, because I know it. And the same with pre-fishing. You kind of want to simulate. You want to simulate what you think is going to do best, maybe in another area. And that's what I do.
Sure.
Go ahead, Sherman.
I was just going to say, it goes back to something Todd just mentioned, when you have a spot that you have singled out and there's bass in it, and you have multiple spots that look that same way on a map, you may not want to pre-fish actually your primary spot per se. I might fish the spot B or C, and if the bass are there, then I'll leave all of them alone that look that same way on the map, and maybe try to go find a different pattern altogether.
Yeah, and real quick before you say something, Marcus, is on my head. You know, you got to also understand there are other guys and there are other eyes that see the same juicy stuff that you see.
Yeah.
So it is so smart to have A, B, and C at least going into tournament day, especially if it's a big tournament and you're in the big, you know, if it's not a humongous body of water, maybe only a couple thousand acres or something like that, you know, you got to make sure that you have backup plans, because if you're not the first guy there, you don't really get the spot.
Right.
Yeah. There's go ahead.
All I was gonna say real quick, I gotta head out here. Greg, Todd, thank you for having me on for a few minutes. Sherman, Marty, Huckleberry, and the principal, by far my favorite matchup of the week. I cannot say Sunday. Good luck to both of you. You're both close friends of mine. I cannot wait to see both of you up there in the high 90s. Y'all just give her hell this weekend. Good luck to both of you guys.
Thanks,
man.
Marcus. Hey, Marcus. Hey, before you leave
Yes,
real
sir.
quick, I got one thing for you. Everybody sees the People Champ with that white belt on his shoulder all the time. I just wanted KBBT World to know that that's actually a second place belt. And that's the first place when you miss.
Hey,
Just so you know,
if you're gonna do
Huckleberry.
that, if you're gonna do that, tell them what the other belt on my other shoulder is.
Oh, you got the big bass belt. I'll give you that one.
I got the big bass belt over Florida, so I'll take the second place finish over technicalities.
Oh my god.
All right, y'all have a good evening.
All right, man.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Marcus.
So like you were talking about getting those spots, like at Truman this weekend, guess what we got there? 200 boats.
Wow.
200 like boats, like bass boats.
Wow.
In a one tournament, they're taking off from the west side, and one spot, one area, and then there's going to be minimum 150 kayakers.
That's
So you're looking
incredible.
350 out there. It's a
You
big
guys-
lake. Yeah.
Wow.
I think Josh Booth said first place is going to pay out close to $11K for that tournament.
Yeah.
And Marty,
Yeah.
get your spot in the DZ the 10 house and win that thing, boy.
What's that?
Get yourself a DZ the 10 spot for KBF. The 10 house spot goes out to the winner.
That might make me retire. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's gonna
good
be
stuff.
awesome.
Well,
But
guys, what do you think it's going to take to win this weekend, guys? What's your number? What, on the top of your head, you got to surpass.
Between us,
Yeah.
go ahead, Sherman.
No, you go ahead, Marty. I've answered first last time.
To win, Sherman puts up good numbers, but I still think because of the weather you're going to have there, Sherman.
There you go.
I think 92 could win it.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
92 and a quarter and a half, something like that.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
But on the same hand, 90 could do it. Depending on because like I said, I'm going to have south winds. The fish are going to be primed because we're getting a big front coming in the next day, I believe Monday or Tuesday there. But Sherman's going to have those. I think you're going to have easterly winds down there.
Yep, east northeast, and blowing 17 when I hit the water, and going up to 21.
Yeah, in 17 in Florida is like 50 here.
Wow.
And it's 80% chance of rain and storms all day, so I'm going to be drenched constant. So,
Yeah.
but I will say that some of the biggest bags that's ever came out of Florida have came in a tropical storm. So,
Oh no, don't tell me that.
Hey,
and I actually have done it twice. So,
thank you,
wow.
Kathy Matheny, for ordering a KBBT shirt and some coffee. You won't be
Nice.
disappointed. You won't be
I got to
disappointed.
eat some of that KBT coffee and give it to my mom.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Yeah. So
What do you
Marty, you
order?
drink coffee?
Oh gosh, man, I'm like, wait. I mean,
yeah, go to
Get Marty some of this coffee. Get Marty
bassbracket.com.
some of this coffee.
Bassbracket.com.
Marty's looking up to put up 92 and send me home and get the coffee for free.
That's right.
hey, there's something to look at.
That's
Where
it.
do you order it?
Sherman,
at?
you drink Sherman, you drink coffee?
No, my
Bassbracket.com.
wife's requested some, so
Yeah, bassbracket.com is where it's at. If you guys want to order some shirts, coffee, and all that good stuff, we got buffs and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, I've always got a pop brewing even on the road, man.
Me too, man. Me too.
Guys,
I learned.
this is going to be a great matchup.
You want to talk? You want to talk coffee real
forward to
quick? I learned a cool trick about Cowboy Coffee, man. On the road, not even having a coffee filter or anything like that, man. Boiling coffee, Cowboy Coffee, and not having a single ground in your coffee. It's amazing. Go to what's his name? Cowboy. What's his name? Goodness gracious. On YouTube. But anyway, what he does, he boils his coffee, puts the grounds in, right, and then before he gets ready to pour it, he pours cold coffee or cold water over top of the coffee grounds in the water, the coffee itself, and it just sinks all those coffee grounds, and then you pour out your coffee, and you don't have a ground in you, man.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's like science magic. But it's the best coffee you'll ever have too, man. It's incredible.
Cool. That's a good tip.
Yeah, I got. Go ahead, man.
You know, here at KBBT, we're all about the smack talk, and we know you guys think about smack talk. Can you guys shock us? Can you give us a little smack talk?
Yeah.
Sherman, don't do it.
not going to do it.
No.
I have too much respect for Marty to smack talk anyway. So.
Yeah,
it's all in fun,
it's
man.
it's
You guys are
Cowboy
great
Kent
anglers and
Rollins, Cowboy Kent Rollins, and here it is, Cowboy Coffee. Look at that video on YouTube. Learning how to do Cowboy Coffee. It'll change your life. It's the best coffee you'll ever have.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Got it. I'm more interested in brewing coffee than doing the fishing now.
Me too. Me too, man. But yeah, Cowboy Kent Rollins. Look how he does his Cowboy Coffee. It's incredible.
You just keep that train of thought, Marty.
I will. Sherman, all you guys, I just like fishing, man. And I just like going out and doing it. And going 10 hours hard.
Yeah.
Because Sherman, I mean, I did the 10K in college, and it was 25 laps. You had to stay focused for all that time. And, what I'm saying here is that I just loved it, though. I could run, 50 laps if they let me. But it was like when you compete like that, you just want to keep going. And like even for me, I see these guys quitting and not everybody, I'm just saying a few, but 4 hours into it and they go, I'm done. I'm going home. I just don't think that way, In fact, I look like Table Rock. Table Rock was won in the last minute 52. And you want to go. I even practiced like, okay, I got 1 minute to go, and I practiced that in practice, catching a bass with 1 minute to go, putting on the board, getting the picture, and submitting it. Just practicing that.
Wow.
Just those little things. Because when I coached basketball, we would coach scenarios, okay, there's 5 seconds on the clock. What are we going to do? You practice those things. So when you get in the thick of it, like at national championship 2 years ago, I caught one in the last minute and it counted and I got 15th that day. But I wouldn't have had anything if I wouldn't have got that last pass and made that last cast with a minute to go.
Right.
And I think that's the mindset you have to have, is never giving up to the end.
No, I've actually been at a 10-hour mark and was still thinking about things I needed to do or changes I needed to make.
Yeah.
Guys, before we let you guys go, this is something I've done with the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
We heard you guys, think that maybe somewhere in the 90 mark, 92 mark, could take this one. But let's hear your picks. Who you guys got between J.R. Mockabee and Conrad Benetti?
I have to stay with Conrad on that. He's gonna be on the same bite that I am, so I feel pretty confident. Even though he's going out on Saturday, and the storm does scare me a little bit because one day the bite's on fire, the next day it's not as good. So it could be a flip flop of which one of us is going to get the hot bite, but I still think Conrad will push it out.
I'm going with the Barbarian. Oh my gosh, the guy he just has his area there, and they're huge bat. I mean, he's always holding up something big.
Yeah, it's
Jason Campbell
crazy.
and Joel Spear.
Ooh. Hmm. I'm gonna say Jason Campbell.
I'm rooting for Jason Campbell after everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That story, my God, that'd be a great story to hear if everything could work out. Just to get to where he has so far, that's been great. And then John Fox, Gerald Rockelman.
That one's a little tougher, at least for me, because I'm 5 minutes away from Tenor Rock, and there's a reason that I don't fish it, and there's a reason Doug Wilson never fished it for tournaments. It's really good, but when it lets you down, it crashes hard. So I keep waiting week after week for John to hit that mark, and it just let him down. I think he's got a little too reliable on it, and I know it's coming, but I just hope it's not this week. Maybe it'll be next week. So I'm going to have to say John gets by another week.
Right.
I am too. I mean, I don't know Florida very good. I've never been there, but I know what John Fox can put up, and he's probably got so many places there that he can fish and find them. You know, so I'm gonna go with him.
Well, them lakes are a lot like yours, though. They're so tiny. There's the one pond that he's fishing. I fish as well. It takes all of about 20 seconds to get across it from one side to the other.
Wow.
I mean, it literally fits inside my house. It's such a tiny little pond, but it's 30 foot deep with a hydrilla ring around. So
Nice.
it's just loaded. It's almost like a feeder lake.
All right, guys, and if you had the opportunity to call your opponent in the championship and you guys are fishing for it all, who would you go against? So you got Campbell, Spear, Maccabee, or Benetti would be on that side of the bracket.
I want the Barbarian.
Of course, I'd like to get the Barbarian because home waters head to head would be great, but honestly, I would like to see Jason Campbell take it. I'd like to see him take out the Barbarian and make it to the championship just because.
That'd be awesome. And then lastly, guys, what would it mean for you guys to win this tournament? I have to ask every angler that. What would it mean to you?
That would mean a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't put the time and effort in the grind to come up short. I mean, it obviously, look at what it did to Conrad. You know, it catapulted his career where everybody knows his name. Now he enters the bracket and everybody's shivering. So
it's impressive.
For me, it'd be like it'd be representing more of the northern state. I don't have a Florida hybrid or Florida strain bass here, and to just be in the company of these guys is like unbelievable, you know.
Yeah.
And to compete against you, but I just want to represent Nebraska because I feel like Nebraska has really good anglers, and there's there's nothing said bad about that. It's just, you know, Christine Fisher is a Nebraska angler, and everybody knows her. But I just want to represent Nebraska and the Midwest as a whole, and not putting anything against anybody else or anything, but just, you know, I just feel like it's not about lack of respect or anything like that. It's just representing well from here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everybody's proud of their home area, home waters, you know, and like, you know, one of the things I wanted to do for myself was show off how great the Potomac River, you know, fishery is, you know, for everybody this year. And it's been the worst I've ever seen it. I mean, it's almost embarrassing. It's like, you know, everybody's like, why do you keep on going back to Potomac River? Because I know what it can do. You know what I mean? But it has not shown out this year. It's just, it's an embarrassment. I wanted to do it for the Mid-Atlantic. Wanted to do it for Virginia. Wanted to do it for the Great Fisher Potomac River. But man, it just didn't happen this year, man.
Yeah. Yep.
But, well, guys, we're gonna end it here. That's a good hour or so, over an hour of great conversation. Great. I mean, I guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Todd, thanks for letting me come on, man. I really enjoyed it.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a great interview. I mean, Marty, Sherman, you guys are one of the 8 that are left. 56 are already home. So, you know, the sky's the limit for both of you. You know, you guys are great anglers, and in my opinion, Other than when we have the national championship next year, this could have potentially or can potentially be the best bracket, the most stacked bracket, and the most stacked Elite Eight, potential Final Four and championship that we've ever had at KBBT. So it's awesome to have you two as a part of it, and we appreciate you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Todd.
Lastly, you guys want to give any shout outs to family, friends, loved ones, sponsors before we let you guys go?
Go ahead, Sherman.
Sherman?
Mine goes out to my wife. I mean, without her putting up with what I do, there's absolutely no way that I am able to compete every weekend or as much as I do and able to travel around and do it. So she holds the home front down, and, you know, she's the biggest supporter that I have. So.
All right. Marty?
Well, me too. I always have a list of my wife's at the top. Every time I come home, she goes, "Did you catch anything? What'd you catch?" She always asks me that every time I come home.
Right.
But I mean, she's my rock too, you know, here. So she believes in me more than anybody, and not just the fishing, but in what I do for a living. And because I come home at night, and man, I got to hold it in because of all the stuff, you know, we're going through and the school, and just trying to, you know, this is a tough time, and I'm a leader, and I got to hold it together, you know.
Yeah.
In helping them, but at the same time, I show my vulnerability with people and tell them, hey, you know, this isn't easy. But she's there for me. I'm going to say Bass Pros has been good to me for a lot of years. They really support kayak fishing. They support me. I'm going to say Bass Mogul with clothing, Fitting Branches. I've used their paddle for years. Strike King Lures. They help me out. Yak Gear. I've been with them from the very beginning when they started the company. They called me up. And then Select Sail here in Omaha, north of me. And then, of course, Tourney X, who sponsors a lot of our tournaments here. And I'm kind of helping him, and he helps me a little bit too. So that's my shout outs. And then I want to thank, man, Greg Nosar. You know, you've got a great idea going here. I love it. Todd Patrick, you've got that red haired guy. He's a diamond in the rough, man. I fished with him. His heart is so huge. I would have loved to coach him as a fullback in football, just because I just know he's a grinder, you know. So anyway, all you guys, just thank you. And Sherman, good luck to you, man.
Good luck to you as well, Marty.
Yeah, you know, catch them fish. I'm going to try to do my best in catching them. And nothing to lose, just everything to gain.
Well, thank you, Marty. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. Again, another great matchup, man. It's going to be real close. We'll give our predictions tomorrow night, but yeah, it's going to be fun. It'll be fun to see.
All right.
Now, again, this matchup is going to be Sunday specifically.
Yeah. We don't know the start and end time yet. Mark did ask me if we wanted to go earlier. I don't know about you, Sherman, but I'd like to see 6:30 to 4:30 rather than 7 to 5, because we do have better light now with daylight savings. I don't know about what your light is there.
We changed it to 6 to 4.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the daylight savings. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I'll have a little bit of dark before I can get going. So okay.
Yeah. But I mean, but again, if you guys want to do 6:30 to 4:30, that's fine by us as well. But we
Well,
did
I'll
change
let Sherman-
Saturday to 6 to 4.
If Marty wants to do the 6:30 to 4:30, that's fine with me.
Okay, that'd be perfect. I
I
think.
mean, I'm not even allowed in my area until an hour before daylight, and it's an hour and 50 minutes to get to where I'm going once I launch. So
Okay. That
I'll be
sounds
an hour
good.
behind regardless. So
6:30 sounds good then. And I don't know, like I said, if I'm going to fish Missouri or Nebraska, but I may head home, depending what happens. I just know there's fish here.
Yeah.
I can tell everybody one thing: I'm not fishing Kenansville. So not after last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, boys,
All right.
Well, it's gonna be a treat, and we get to be a part of it here at KBBT. So, on behalf of myself and Greg, unless you got anything else to say, Greg.
no, that's it, man. You
this
guys
has
did a
been
great
awesome.
job.
Thanks, guys.
So-
Appreciate it.
Y'all have a great
Good
night.
luck.
Good luck, Marty.
Hey, you too, Sherman. Good talking to you guys.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.
See ya.